English language paper 1 is just weeks away, and you need that final practice to help you scoop up the full marks for question 3, the tricky one on structure. Well, you're in the right place. I'm going to help you get full marks for question 3. Stay tuned and watch Schofield on Shakespeare.
Abbiamo il cuore a strisce, portaci dove vuoi.
An official AQA GCSE video suggests that you might explore some of these areas depending on the text. So for instance, you might explore time shifts or movements in thoughts. You might explore when the text zooms in from something big to something much smaller, or the other way rounds. How about a sudden or gradual introduction of new characters at significant points? It can be useful to analyse when a text moves from inside to the wider outside world, or the other way rounds. You can probe the effects of a writer choosing to combine external actions with internal thoughts. You can also analyse when a text switches from different points of views or perspectives. How about when there's development and reiteration, and when a point of view is explored by expansion and repetition? You employ circular structures within your own creative descriptive pieces. What about when a circular structure has been used within a text? What may be the effect of that? Also consider the positioning of key sentences and their impact on the whole. Also consider the position of clauses and ideas within individual sentences. To get the full 8 marks, you need to show detailed and perceptive understanding of these structural features. So let's look at an actual past paper text, and it comes from an AQA, paper 1, June 2022. So read it through now and consider the question. How has it been structured to interest you as a reader? Background information is that Coyotito is Kino and Juana's baby. The extracts will appear in 5-second intervals, or if you prefer, email me at schofieldonshakespeare@gmail.com for a PDF version of the extract, which will include my annotations. Time to press pause now to ponder and read. When thinking about structure, it can be helpful to think about how the text develops and how the text changes focus over time. With this particular text, there are 4 distinct sections. First, there is the discovery and description of the scorpion, which is perilously close to Coetito, the baby. Next, there is a short, frantic section in which the scorpion stings the baby before the father catches it and crushes it to death. Next, there is the reaction to the baby being stung from Juana, Kino, and the arrival of the neighbours. Finally, there is the discussion about whether they should get the doctor, followed by the determined decision from the mother to take her baby there. But remember, you need to include a judicious range of examples when exploring the effect of structure, which means that you need to go into individual paragraph and sentence level detail. The text will appear again now at 3-second intervals. So why not take screenshots or use my PDF handout and do some of your own annotations? Which examples would you use when exploring how the writer has structured the text that interests us as readers? Press pause now. Here are some of my own detailed annotations. So this is from the second paragraph. In the first sentence, we find out that a tiny movement has been made. But by what? In the second sentence, we see that the parents are clearly terrified and stunned by this tiny movement. But it's only in the middle of the third sentence that we find out the actual danger of Scorpion. Note the compound sentence at the end of this paragraph, in which the second half confirms just how quickly the scorpion can use its tail to attack. But look what happens in the following paragraph. Rather than continue to describe the scorpion, we have a full paragraph describing Kino's reaction. This delay further builds up tension as we wonder about whether this scorpion will attack. In the following paragraph, note the stillness of the initial simple sentence. Kino stood perfectly still, full stop. This reflects the tense atmosphere in which neither the scorpion or Kino are moving. There are two further simple sentences in this paragraph. Kino's hand went forward very slowly, very smoothly. The thorned tail jerked upright. These simple sentences are tense and jerky in effect. Any movements that are taking place are minute and short. Kino, of course, wants to try to catch the scorpion before it stings his son. The subsequent two paragraphs both end with frantic examples of polysyndeton. The first example is, his teeth were bared and fury flared in his eyes and the song of the enemy roared in his ears. This creates a frenetic feel aided by the alliterative F sounds, which highlights the father's desperate, frenzied emotions as he crushes the scorpion to death and panics. The second example is rather different. She put her lips down over the puncture and sucked hard and spat and sucked again while Coyotito screamed. Now this reflects the mother's non-stop attempts to save her baby's life by repeatedly sucking, spitting and sucking again at the puncture on her baby's skin. Note the short paragraph for effect at the top of the screen. This shows how Kino has become separate from the crucial action. Whilst the mother attempts to look after their baby and save its life, he is apart. Meanwhile, note the second sentence of the subsequent paragraph, which has a whopping 48 words. This complex sentence reflects the commotion as neighbours and other family members rush to find out what has happened. There is an interesting shift in focus here. From the drama of the baby's sting and the reaction to it, the middle paragraph on screen is more reflective, as the impotent Kino finds himself marvelling at the strength of his wife. However, the pace quickens in the next paragraph with the shift to quick, desperate dialogue. There's been enough sucking and spitting, enough drama. There now needs to be practical, level-headed action. Note the 3 consecutive repeated negative statements from different sources. These build tension as they open up the very real possibility that the baby could die from the scorpion sting, irrespective of the slightly positive shift in the baby's sounds from screams to moans. Note that the mother's response to this negativity is delayed, which builds up tension. Instead, we have a description of her body language and key motivations, which foreshadow her determined response. So early on, I talked about a long, complex sentence which described chaos as the entire village rushed to gawp at the stunned baby. Here, there is another whopping complex sentence, 54 words, but this reflects the mother seamlessly doing all the things that need doing in order to get her baby to the doctor as quickly and safely as possible. Remember that when writing about structure, you may also want to use some of these phrases. You're now in a position to write a super response to this question. Get cracking now. Yes, it's pause time.
So, how did you get on? Produce an excellent response full of structural insights. Compare your response now to my one.
At the beginning of the source, the writer builds up tension by describing the movements of the scorpion, which is perilously close to Coyotito the baby. For instance, it was a tiny movement that drew their eyes. Kino and Juana froze. Structurally, the writer describes unspecified movements and the parents' terrified reaction before confirming that the creature moving is indeed a scorpion. This interests the reader and builds suspense. Scorpions are known to be dangerous creatures, and so we are desperate to find out whether it will sting the baby. Indeed, the writer continues to build up tension by switching focus soon after introducing the scorpion. The third paragraph of the passage switches from the scorpion to Kino's reaction. His breath whistled, and he thinks of a new song within his mind. Kino's obvious frantic response to the scorpion confirms just how dangerous the situation is, and we want to read on to find out what the scorpion is going to do. In the fifth paragraph, the writer uses a number of short, simple sentences in order to reflect the tense, motionless period in which Kino and the scorpion keep still, weighing each other up. We learn that Kino stood perfectly still and that his hand went forward very slowly, very smoothly. The thorn tail jerked upright. The latter two simple sentences are jerky and contribute to the strained atmosphere. Meanwhile, the syntactic parallelism within very slowly, very smoothly reflects Kino's laborious, desperate caution as he moves into a position to try to catch the scorpion. Kino does manage to catch the scorpion, but only after it has stung the baby. The writer uses a compound sentence with polysyndeton at the end of the sixth paragraph. His teeth were bared and fury flared in his eyes, and the song of the enemy roared in his ears. The repeated ands without any punctuation create a frantic, intense feel, befitting of Kino's desperation as he hysterically crushes the creature to death. Towards the end of the passage, the focus shifts from narrative to quickfire dialogue as the neighbours respond to the mother's demand to go to get the doctor. A version of "he would not come" is repeated 3 times, which builds up tension, as it suggests that it may not be possible to save the baby after all. However, the switch to describing the mother's body language, her eyes as cold as the eyes of a lioness, which delays her verbal response, highlights the fact that she is determined to try every single avenue in order to save the life of her firstborn. So what makes this 8 out of 8? Well, no waffle, no piffle-paffle. Be as specific as possible about the text and how it has been structured to interest the reader. After each topic sentence, incorporate a quotation to ensure that your analysis is more detailed and insightful. The mark scheme requires you to make sophisticated and accurate use of subject terminology. The OCR exam board provide a glossary of relevant subject terminology, which is helpful, although I like the emphatic point at the top which says, never use a term when you are unsure of its meaning or relevant application. I'm going to very briefly share this glossary with you now, with sections appearing at 3-second intervals, so press pause on some of them to get a more detailed idea of the kind of subject terminology you might incorporate to make your response more technical. Email me at schofieldonshakespeare@gmail.com if you would like a PDF version of this. Back within my model response, a reminder of the importance of always exploring the effect of the structural device, not just bloomin' saying what it is. Finally, switches in focus can be interesting material for analysis. Why has the writer chosen to focus on something different at this point, and what is the effect of this?
This has been a Schofield on Shakespeare production, helping you get full marks for question 3 from paper 1 of AQA GCSE English language. Good luck and many thanks for watching.